Hey gang, so this is where things I think get a little more complicated and confusing. So this is going to take a little bit of practice. Um, so we learned about the GCF, greatest common factor, and now we're going to learn about the LCM, which is the least common multiple. Students all the time mix these two up. This is very confusing, and all the time on exams, these two are mixed up. So this is something you really do have to practice before your Unit 7 exam. Uh, so I'm going to go through an example um, of a problem where we find both the GCF and the LCM just to show you what the difference is, okay? So we're going to go back through a problem where we've already found the GCF, so it's not something new. And then I'm going to show you what the LCM of this same exact problem would be, okay? So I'm going to put GCF first. So first, maybe I should explain. So remember, GCF, you're looking for the greatest common factor between two numbers. For LCM, you're looking for the least common multiple. So remember when we just talked about common multiples between two numbers, if you listed two numbers, we're looking for, so per se, I had 8 and 24, or 12 and 24. So let me just show you 12 and 24 if we're doing common multiples. So I'm going to show you common multiples. Okay. So remember when we did multiples, what goes into that? What a multiple would be. So the first multiple of that is 12. 12 times 2 would then be 24. Okay. So now let's look at 24. So 24 is a multiple. Okay, 24 times 2 gives me 48. So we're just going to stop there because it's asking for the least common multiple. So we can already see the least common multiple would be 24. Okay, so that's what we're thinking about, least common multiple. Okay, so now again, we're going to find the GCF and I'm going to show you how this is different. Mm, Let me erase some of this so we can have more space. Okay, so when we found the GCF of this before, remember it has to be the greatest common, what they both have in common. You're looking at your prime numbers. So your prime numbers, okay, this side didn't have the 13. This side doesn't have a 3. This side only has 2 2s, so I have to cross off a 2. That side didn't have an 11. That side doesn't have a 19. So the only thing they had in common was, this side only has 2 2s, so you crossed off that 2. So the only thing they had in common was 1 2, 1 2. Okay. So the only thing they had in common was 2 2s. So the GCF, okay, was 4. That's your GCF. Now, okay, so this was your GCF. We're just going to circle that. Now we're going for LCM, least common multiple. Okay, it's almost completely different. It's the complete opposite. So for your least common multiple, I look at the two. So you have to take, first off, you have to take every prime number. So you're going to list every single prime number, and then you list each prime to its highest power. Okay, so I have a 3 over here. Do I have any? So let me first circle all of my primes. So that's what I'm going to start off with. I'm going to circle all my primes. Okay, so now I have a 3 there. So let me check and see if I have any other 3s, because you have to take your prime number to the highest power. Okay, so 3 is to the first power. That's the highest I can go. I'm going to wait to write that because it has to be in numerical increase in order. So let me check my 2s. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 2s. And then I have only 2 2s on this side. So it's going to be 2 to the 4th. Remember, it has to be the highest power. So 2 to the 4th times, we had 1 3. Okay. So I can cross off, I took care of that. I took care of this. Okay. So the 2 2s are taken care of in the 2 to the 4th. Okay, because obviously 2 2s are in 2 to the 4th. If I have 4 2s, then I obviously have 2 2s in that 4 2s. So now 13, again, you have to list all of the prime numbers. Even if it's not on this side, it doesn't have to be on both sides. You have to list all of the prime numbers. Okay, I'm going to wait to list 13 because there's a smaller prime number on this side. So I'm going to do times 11. Then I'm going to do, that's taken care of. Then I'm going to do times 13. So that's taken care of. Then I'm going to do times 19. And that's your least common multiple. I don't expect you to multiply that out. So your GCF was Your GCF for the same exact number was 2 squared, while your least common multiple was 2 to the fourth times 3 times 11 times 13 times 19. What's weird, I get most kids get confused on and they think is weird is that the least common multiple is always a greater number than the greatest common factor. So it sort of sounds backwards, but your greatest common factor is always going to be a smaller number than your least common multiple. So your least common multiple is going to be a big number and your greatest common factor is going to be a smaller number. And that's usually what really confuses my kiddos. Okay, so let's practice. Let's practice one more. This one, we're just going to find the least common multiple. Okay. And if you remember, I said I always push my prime numbers to the left. It just makes it easier. So I pulled out my 7. It's a prime number. I put it to my left. Okay. Okay. So I factored it out. So 7 times 6 is 42. 7's a prime number. So I'm going to circle that. Then 2 times 3 is 6. 2 is a prime number. I'm going to circle that. 3 is a prime number. I'm going to circle that. I'm just moving through the factor trees at this point just because you were already previously taught the factor trees. So you guys should be pretty well off with figuring out how to factor the numbers through a factor tree. And that's not the skill I'm teaching you for this lesson. I'm teaching you how to calculate the least common multiple. So please look back on other lessons if you're getting confused on how I'm doing these factor trees, okay? So again, so I'm looking for what times what gives me 56. Remember, you always want to pull out those prime numbers. So I'm saying 7 times 8 gives me 56. 7 I can't do anything more with, so I circle it. Then I say 8. 8, I can pull more numbers out, so I have to continue to divide the numbers out. 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 is a prime number, so I circle it. So 4, I can continue to divide out. So I divide 2 times 2 gives me 4. And then I can stop. Okay? So the numbers are completely divided. There's nothing more I can do with them. Okay? Now I want to find my least common multiple. So remember, least common multiple, you always want to start with the smallest number and work your way up. You have to include every prime number, and you have to include the prime number to the greatest power. So if I only have 2 2's on this side and I have 4 2's on this side, I have to pick the 4 2's. Okay. So we're going to start with the smallest number because that's how you have to do the smallest number first. I have 1 2. Let's see if we have more 2's on this side. I have 1 2 3 2's on this side, so I choose this side. I have 2 cubed. That means this number is taken care of, this number is taken care of, this number is taken care of, and this number is taken care of. So remember, if I wrote down 3 2's, obviously there's 1 2, 1 2, and there's 3 2's. Okay. Now, I have a 3 on this side. Do I have any 3's on this side? No. So the greatest power of 3 is 3 to the first power. which you don't have to write 3 to the first power, you just write 3. So now 3 is taken care of. I have 1 7 on this side, and I only have 1 7 on this side, so the greatest 7 I have is 7 to the first power. There's not 2 7s here, there's not 2 7s here, so it's just 7 to the first power. Right? So if I have 1 7, 7 to the first power covers this 1 7, right? 7 to the first power covers this 1 7, right? So it's just 7 to the first power. So this is my least common multiple. Okay. Now, if you were going to ask me what's my greatest common factor, if I was looking at this, what's my greatest common factor? Remember, it has to be what do they have in common? Well, they have a 7 in common, right? They both have a 7. And they both have a 2. You can't count the 3 2s because this side only has 1 2. So it would be a 2. So if you were looking for your GCF would be your GCF would be 2 times 7. Okay, while your LCM is 2 to the third times 3 times 7. Okay, so again, practice, practice, practice makes perfect. Practice the skill, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye now.